Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. Gonna dive into an update from Ether that happened today. We got Snowfro giving away basically all the rest of the unminted squiggles. Gonna hear more about that, gonna talk more about that, and then also dive into Prohibition, which now announced their first couple launches. Let's get right into a quick market overview. ETH volumes were down again, down below 10,000 ETH, kind of towards the low end of the range that we've basically been in. As you know, as I say all the time, I don't think low volume is a problem, especially when this chart is true, basically shows that the percentage of ETH volume on Blur right now that is sellers dumping into bids is basically near the lows that it's been ever since season 2 started. So that is a positive trend. More people picking the NFTs they want to buy and buying them than people dumping into bids, or about 50-50, which is at the low end of the range. Large cap index basically flat, had some strength in DeGod, strength in CryptoPunks, which are back above 50 ETH. A lot of the airdrop farming on CryptoPunks has gone away. It's been about 9 days since a punk has been dumped into a bid. The bid-ask spread is a little bit wider. That's overall been quite healthy for prices. I think there are a few reasons for it. I think one is that trait bidding is moving some of the attention away from collection bids. So you just have a little bit less action around the floor. I think the second thing is when we learned, with V2, that season 2 for airdrop farming is going to go on indefinitely. We don't know when that end is going to be. I just think you're seeing airdrop farmers dial back a little bit of their risk. And then the other thing is that when a project doesn't have a ton of volume, airdrop farmers go to the projects that have the volume because that's where the most points are earned. Overall, generally a pretty positive trend for punks recently. We saw weakness yesterday in Coda, as well as Gutter Cats and Cool Cats. In terms of mid caps, down a small bit or basically flat, not a whole lot of movement there. Strength in crypto dick butts up 24%, weakness in cyber brokers. Fat Azuki has been kind of the meme of the week. You can't really see it in this chart. I was running short on time, so I just pulled a Blur screenshot. But after the reveal, the floor basically went from 0.07 to 0.02 and lower. My take on this is it's basically over. 10,000 NFTs of a meme. Like, we have seen this. We saw this with bored punks. We have seen this for years on end. These derivatives, these memes, they are fun for a couple days, but it is really a game of musical chairs. Eventually, you just can't sustain really any price for these things over the long haul for the majority of them. And I think we're starting to see this one fade away a little bit. In terms of art projects, had 5 projects that did 10 ETH or more volume. That's pretty high for that metric. Ringers sold for 45 ETH. I believe Danny Seed Phrase was the seller there. Cath Simard, the photographer artist, sold a Slinky Squiggle for 18 ETH. This also had a very low color spread, which I believe drove that premium price well above floor, because Slinkies, can trade kind of around floor sometimes. We have an anti-cyclone here in the lower left, which traded for 8 ETH, and then an archetype for 10 ETH. So a bunch of nice art block sales that happened. Second thing to talk about, Ether makes moves. We talked earlier about how they did not mint out their mint. They made an announcement kind of addressing how they were going to approach it going forward, what their strategy was. There were 4 pieces to it. One is that the reveal happened today. 2 is that people who owned NFTs, who had already bought them, got airdropped another. And I think what they wanted to make sure it didn't happen was that people who bought them at a higher price at the 0.65 level or whatever ended up down while they rewarded other people with lower prices. So they wanted to reward their existing holders and airdropped everyone another capsule. They're doing a Dutch auction starting at 0.45 ETH. This will have happened by the time you see the show. It has not happened yet, but that Dutch auction will be interesting to watch. I believe it has a 0.15 ETH resting price. And then they raised royalties to 7.5% from 5%. Interesting move there, mainly in the sense that, as I talked about yesterday, is we don't know who's going to enforce them. But right now it does seem like Blur is enforcing them. So they raised those a small bit. Here's the art. The reveal happened. I think people who are into this kind of art, seem to like it. You had a bunch of grails that have sold, one for 1.3 ETH in that upper right, one for 0.88 ETH in the upper left. Seems like both of the most expensive sales thus far have these companions that are with them on the art, and then a couple others for you to see at the bottom there. I think overall, the art was decently received. Like, the floor on the revealed ones has not tanked too far below the capsules. You're always going to get a bit of a fall relative to the capsules because the capsules have that grail premium, but we didn't see like a huge fall after the reveal. Actually, what we did see, and this chart kind of looks at the Ether price over time, what we did see, floor was at 0.35. It actually kind of rallied up to 0.45 right on the reveal, and then pretty quickly, this is for the capsules, but pretty quickly went back down to where it had been. Now, in terms of this move, people are talking about how big of a disappointment this has been for the Ether team. And I know, their targets were to raise $10 million through this. That is just a ton of money for a project that hasn't really established itself, that hasn't really done a whole lot in public, where you still have anonymous founders. But even with kind of things not going according to plan, they've already raised over $1 million. They've already had over $100,000 in royalties paid. So the team does have a fairly big war chest here to go out and build whatever it is they're planning to build. $1.1 million is no joke for a relatively small team. So I think that is important to point out. In terms of other things, basically, I think it is hard to analyze this project because they haven't been super public with the roadmap. They've talked about premium merch and really trying to go down that fashion route. We've seen similar routes before. Maybe they just have very, very ambitious plans for that. It's just really hard to tell. These are ambitious financial targets, though, but right now the momentum isn't there. I do think getting this mint behind them and allowing them to reestablish their base, connect with holders, figure out where they're going will be a positive. Third thing to talk about, Prohibition launches their first project. We talked about Prohibition before. They're using the art blocks technology to build on Arbitrum L2, make it a lot more affordable to transact on, and just trying to build a world where anybody can be part of it, a little bit less kind of curated than art blocks curated and whatnot. This is from my slide when I talked about it in May. No curation board, allow-less, mint passes. Anyone can create, curate, and collect generative art. All are encouraged to participate, and they will provide mentorship, tools, and tutorials to help artists succeed. Well, they announced that as part of this, they're going to be doing 2 mints, and 2 mints with well-known artists. One is Emily Edelman. I met Emily in Marifa. She's great. She's done a couple Art Blocks curated projects, and I believe her own Art Blocks Presents project, but she is going to be doing a piece called Monospatial, really plays with lettering in more just like in less literal ways. So that'll be cool to see. And then the day after that is Ed Balloon, who is doing a project. Ed Balloon's will be 333 supply at 0.09 ETH, whereas Emily's will be 100 at 0.05 ETH. So interesting stuff. These are both great artists who I like a lot. Here's a little bit more of a feel for the look and feel for the art. So yeah, this will be exciting. And we'll be talking about that next week when those mints do happen. Fourth thing to talk about, all Squiggles, according to Snowfur. Snowfur tweeted out something that said all Squiggles, there are 10,000, but only 9,800, something like that, have minted. He said all of the remainders, I've decided where they're going to go, and 81 of them are going to be minting today. So these are going to be minting today, I believe, at 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Look at me doing those time zones in my head so quickly, but here we go. He wrote a really long kind of thread about it. I'll just give you the summary. 81 mints today. It'll be in 2 transactions, one where the first bulk gets minted, then the second is the next bulk. He's giving a bunch to community members, people who he's seen display acts of kindness. He also is going to give one to personal relationships and various personal relationships. One person is his executive coach, who he said has basically been a therapist to him through the years. He also is going to be giving some to Venus over Manhattan on consignment. And I believe there's a 2-year window, or there's a certain number of year window where those cannot be sold. Squiggle DAO is going to get some there. Squiggle DAO, we know, is trying to get to 400 Squiggles. And the team at Art Blocks, he wants to give one to every single member of the Art Blocks team. So that is a very nice bonus to get if you work there. Also giving 10 to Flamingo DAO. He is a member of Flamingo DAO and going to be giving 10 to Flamingo. He said also that he had planned to give 100 to his kids, and he has changed his mind on that. He wants to give some to his family, but he wants to give those 100. He doesn't want those to be sitting, basically waiting for them to get older. Over time, he'd rather give them to people that he says are more, or to causes right now that kind of hit his mission here and now. Overall, just nice to see this. I think it is just a good thing to get them all minted or on the roadmap to be minted and give some clarity. So the Squiggles project is done, dusted, and ready to move on. He also did hint that there's going to be a trade he is doing with an artist who he has a ton of respect for, where Snowfur will be giving unminted Squiggles along with a punk in exchange for work. We don't know who that artist is, but overall, very cool to see this. Congratulations to Snowfur on everything he's accomplished and kind of starting to put the end bookend on the Squiggles project. And then last thing to talk about, a few notable sales. There's been a bunch of Azuki and Elemental sales, so figured I'd touch on these. Some pretty nice kind of mid-tier grails in the Azuki project selling in that 12 to 14 ETH. And then that one in the upper right, Azuki or Elemental. Can you tell which are which? Well, 3 of these are Azukis. The one in the upper right is an Elemental with that underwater theme and the guitar. That one sold for 12 ETH. So a real grail, Elemental, and some of these mid-tier grails for Azukis all selling in that 12 to 14 ETH range. And then only one of one to talk about. This piece, Coffee and Cigarettes by Luca Boni, an Italian artist, sold for 2.5 ETH. Pretty cool illustration work. Luca here is tweeting, thanking the buyer, saying, this buyer does not mess around. What an honor and privilege to have great people as collectors. Welcome to the fam. And then just looking at Luca's other work, really kind of in this illustration theme, he's had a bunch of pieces in that 2 to 3 ETH range, as well as one piece that sold for 3.9 ETH. So very cool work from Luca, and congratulations to him on this sale. That is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you're having a great day. Give us a like below. Tell us what you think in the comments and subscribe to the channel. And we'll be back tomorrow and every weekday with another show. Have a great day.